the biggest thing going on at the moment right now is there's a huge amount of discourse over this bill. This TikTok now. This restrict bill. Okay.
Restrict Act. It is a bill. You're absolutely right. Why don't you explain, give everyone a rundown what this in general is? Because if we don't talk about what it is, then it's not going to make any sense.
Well, okay, what I would like to do is, before we even get into this, is I understand there's a lot of, I've been seeing a lot of influencers go out there trying to say that this bill's terrible and it's a horrible
I have
idea.
some examples
Yeah,
of
you
that.
have some examples. Well, since you're American, you explain what a bill is.
You pass the buck over to me.
Well, it's
a
your
bill
laws.
Okay, it's mine.
Yeah,
you live
for me-
here too.
Yeah,
Turns out
true.
if you're not American, you don't have to follow the laws.
No, it's not about that. It's understanding them as well. Like, I have to think about the House of Commons and honorable speakers and chief whips and stuff.
Chief whips.
You don't know about that stuff, right? You don't know.
I
that
do,
nonsense.
because we've been covering.
Yeah, now
Anyway,
you know. But yeah,
long
it's
story
different.
short.
So what's a bill?
Yes.
What's
a
a bill?
bill is basically a proposal, right? So you bring something. Think about it like a white paper. Like you have an idea for something, right?
It is white.
It is a white paper. In a bill, it basically is not a law until it becomes signed into law, right? So things can be changed, things can be amended, things can be adjusted, right? And I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding going on right now about that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discourse out there, meaning I think it kind of makes people think that if something is written into a bill, then all of a sudden it becomes like verbatim law overnight. It doesn't go through any sort of appeals process. It doesn't go through any sort of revision or amendment, right? And that's just not true, right? So the bill we're talking about today is a proposal. It's an idea to to appoint somebody, right? And a committee of people to look at what an adversarial country is. So there's some examples of adversarial countries in this bill. An adversarial country would be a country that probably wants to do some sort of digital economic harm to the USA. The examples in this bill are North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, China, Russia, and Iran. Okay?
Right.
These countries are kind of, I'm going to say, put on a blacklist for countries that have shown the incentive or willingness to want to do harm to the U.S., right?
Sure.
And I think we can probably agree on most of those.
Oh, yeah, all of them.
But we're specifically today going to hone in on China.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about. It's literally called the China Show.
Yeah.
Right? Now, in this bill, to make it very, very simple, if China, let's just pick China, because I don't want to go into the other countries right now.
Yeah.
If China creates something that causes harm or accesses the data of Americans when they say they're not supposed to, then they will be held to scrutiny.
Yeah.
Specifically, if any of the things or products or apps or technology, equipment, router, anything like this, can access over 1 million Americans' data, right?
Yes.
That's what this is about, right? So if you think about it, what app is really hot right now that we're talking about?
It's TikTok.
It's TikTok, right? So over 100 million users on TikTok. China has access to over 100 million Americans' data. And that's where the debate came in. Why are we allowing a country that has told its citizens time and time again that we are at war with America, America's bad, we want America to go away, we will be the ruler of the world,
Sure.
you know, America is evil and sick and twisted and all this stuff. With all of this information going on, why would a country whose government has full control or at least access to every company in China be allowed to access American user data?
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about.
Sure.
Also, why would a country with a government with a malicious intent be allowed to have input or say in an algorithm that could potentially deliver or restrict information going to Americans?
Yes.
Right? Think about censorship. Now, the personal anecdote I can throw out here right before we get into the nitty-gritty of this is I had a TikTok account. I'm obviously a big YouTuber, right? And what I was doing was clipping some of my most important points out of my videdes.
Yeah,
None of them
putting
had
them out
sexual
there.
content. None of them had violence. None of them had anything.
Yeah.
Not even bad language, right? My account was banned. Almost, I would say half of my videos were removed for content violations. And it was just absolute BS reasons, right?
Yeah, of course.
It was absolutely 100% because I was being critical of the Chinese government.
Oh,
right?
yeah, we know that. Lots of people have had this happen.
It's time and time and time
It was
again.
even brought up in that whole hearing,
Yep.
about like somebody posted about the Uyghurs and had their accounts suspended or
I
deleted.
posted about the Uyghurs as well.
Yeah.
Had everything like lickety split removed,
Sure.
right? Except for some very innocuous things.
Sure.
And then basically, I started to think about it. I started to think this is a wildly popular app. that if my content is being controlled, if my content is being removed and removed from the eyes of the American public in America on an American app,
Yes.
right? That has nothing to do with the Chinese government. Why am I being censored for that, right?
Yes.
And then you think about the grand scale of that. Not only could you turn off or like get eyes to look away from anti-CCP content, what about anything else? What about election-related materials?
Oh, yeah.
What about democracy-related stuff? And then you go on the algorithm long enough, you're fed Chinese propaganda constantly.
Oh, yeah.
I went through, if you go on any of my videos, I won't make you watch them now, but if you go on any of my videos, I literally got fed over and over and over again CCP propaganda from Chinese state media.
Yeah, I know. You've made videos about it. And it's true. It's all... That doesn't get censored or stopped.
Nope.
But okay, let's get back into this whole thing. You said you've put up some of the criticisms of this bill that we've been seeing. So yes, this is the genesis of this. I started to notice on Twitter these people posting the following, and let's take a look. This Lolo, whatever. This guy, for some reason, was boosted by a lot of state media accounts and people connected to Chinese propaganda.
This is what we think of the genesis is.
Yeah. So anyway, it says, oh, the Senate Bill 686, the Restrict Act, wants to put you in jail for 20 years for using a VPN or using a website or app that is operated by foreign adversaries. These are the foreign adversaries, by the way. Okay, so first of all, you look at that and you're like, oh, this must be so bad. I can go to jail for 20 years? Now, before we continue with this, guys, I got to tell you one thing. I am very much against overreach when it comes to government control. That's what we're about here. We do not like the way the CCP behaves. The Chinese Communist Party is what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid the kind of influence the Chinese Communist Party has over the populace.
Yeah.
They control everything. People are not allowed to have freedom of speech in China. You're not allowed to say anything critical of the government on any social media or in public.
We'll actually get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, you can't actually write, I don't like the government on a piece of paper and hold it up or stick it on a wall. You will go to jail, you'll get detained, the police will come and arrest you. That's what we're trying to avoid here.
Yes.
So when it comes to overreach, okay, a lot of people have concerns that this bill has overreach. In other words, can be interpreted in certain ways, and the government will be able to use it to do things that are against your rights and all that kind of stuff. And I agree, that kind of thing needs to be scrutinized. There need to be many eyes on that and potentially many amendments to this bill. But one thing the bill does not say is that you as an individual are going to go to jail for 20 years. And this is the thing that's pissing me off. This is false. These claims that and you'll see there are lots of them, especially TikTokers who are trying to save their hide because obviously like, hey, their business or their livelihood is TikTok. So they're going to do everything they can to protect their livelihood.
To give a little devil's advocate, though, I think there are campaigns going out from third-party advertisers out of China or Hong Kong right now that are telling people that they'll earn a certain amount of money if they say a certain script.
Yeah.
Because it's very much in line from a lot of stuff we've seen before.
Yeah. But I mean, this idea that you as an individual will go to jail for 20 years for using a VPN to access TikTok or something is bullshit and false. And that's what I'm fighting against here. When we're talking about this bill and when we talk about what's going on here, if you're somebody who's against government control and you think this bill is bad, think that all you want. But one thing you have to realize is that this bullshit about 20 years and a VPN, that is wrong and false. It's not in the bill, and this is definitely some kind of a psyop. This is some kind of a propaganda bullshit move that they're pulling.
Because I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
This is the linchpin for a lot of people's arguments, right?
Yeah.
And I have so much sympathy for people that are against the bill for thinking that they're going to go to jail in America for 20 years for using a VPN.
Yeah.
Right? But you have to understand something here. When it smells fishy, if it's related to China, it usually is.
Yeah.
So we started digging around, right?
Well, I mean, look at this. This is a very well-known CCP tanky propagandist and saying, like, under the new Restrict Act, Ban TikTok Act, VPN users face 20 years in jail and a $1 million fine if they evade U.S. internet censorship. Compared to this, the Great Firewall of China looks like a picket fence. You see what they're trying to do here is they're trying to say, look, China's great. They don't do anything bad, but America, holy shit.
Can you explain what dual purpose is, by the way?
Yeah, of course.
It's a very key CCP terminology.
Well, the whole dual purpose thing is China will develop a technology or they will implement something that looks like it can be used for something innocuous, but actually what it's being used for is propaganda or something to benefit the government. So,
Right.
like military technologies like weather balloons or the spy balloon that we saw, you see, they can claim it's a weather balloon when it's actually a spy balloon. And then when they get caught out, they can say, oh, it's just a weather balloon.
Dual purpose ideology goes all the way from the top like that, like
Yeah.
dual civilian military usage type stuff, all the way down to even how propaganda works.
Yeah.
So you'll see here, the purpose of this is, for lack of better words, a CCP shill.
He is. He's 100%. This guy, if you went to his Twitter, all you can see is pro-CCP, pro-Russia,
Yeah.
bullshit. He's a tanky. That's what he does.
So if you were to look at something like this,
Yeah.
right, you would say, well, the key feature of this, like stepping outside, not knowing who this person is, the
Yeah.
key feature is to criticize the Restrict Act and to look at it and say, wow, if this Restrict Act in America goes through, if me, a TikTok user, uses a VPN after it's banned to go on TikTok, I'm going to go to jail for 20 years and get fined, right? But this is dual purpose because what it also does is says, yeah, there's a Great Firewall of China which blocks, the majority of the internet, by the way.
70%.
70% of the
Plus.
internet. That makes this look like not a big issue because at least in China, where everything's blocked, I can use a VPN and I'm probably not going to go to jail for 20 years, right? So it makes it look comparatively better, which is wild, right?
Yes.
Which is absolutely wild. By the way, 100% false.
Yeah, you will.
I'd like
go.
to- I'd like to look at some examples.
Yeah,
of this.
we'll take a look. But yeah, you will go to jail in China. You'll get disappeared. Again, U.S. nationals in American soil only, or U.S. nationals abroad too? U.S. nationals abroad using U.S. SIM cards? How about foreigners in U.S. soil? Welcome to the Western. These guys are going.
This is a
ape
pro
shit.
CCP. This is a state employee, by the way. This
yeah.
person works for Chinese state propaganda.
Yeah, he's always on state media, the communist leprechaun.
Now, I just want to look at this super, super quick. I
Yes.
have no idea how people are buying into this, but this whole thing about you're going to go to jail for using a VPN if this bill gets passed in America, right? And now China comparatively looks better is actually working. And I just want to stamp something out really quick.
Okay.
VPN in China is illegal.
Yes.
I don't know why we're at a point now where people are going around saying, well, yeah, the internet's blocked in China, and that's to protect the societal safety of everyone. But if you really want to, you can use a VPN and you'll be fine.
They love saying that.
Yeah, if you're a foreigner, how many white guys or black guys or Indian guys or whatever are walking around China these days? Not that many.
Not many,
right?
no.
1.4 billion Chinese people are not foreigners. They're
Yeah.
Chinese people. And for Chinese people, it is illegal to use a VPN. In fact, there have been some very, very pushed down in the SEO search rankings. Examples of how the law has changed very recently to be even more strict and more harsh. Let's just look at some headlines. Chinese man to serve 9 months in prison for selling VPN apps. Man in China sentenced to 5 years in jail for running VPN, right? Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, those people ran a VPN or sold VPNs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure.
Okay, well,
Yeah, that's...
touche,
this you can't-
touche.
you
That's
can't
illegal,
do that.
right? A man in China was caught by police for using a VPN to browse Wikipedia, not selling.
Yeah, just to
using.
browse Wikipedia.
And while using VPN has been deemed illegal in China, this is a rare case for the government to specifically disclose what the VPN was used for, reading Wikipedia for research.
Yes.
They literally wrote it in the criminal report, which is under these. I covered them up with these headlines.
Yeah.
But it says he was using a VPN to read Wikipedia to learn about stuff, and that's why he was arrested. Right?
Yeah.
A software developer just became the latest victim of China's VPN crackdown. Man punished for using VPN to scale China's Great Firewall and watch porn. Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah,
Continue.
yeah.
Chinese authorities punish citizens for using foreign social media. So not only are you getting punished for using a VPN, but when you access Twitter and these accounts, they have police, I'm not even joking, that will hunt you down while you're in America. They'll hunt you down. They'll call you, find a way to call you and say, have you been using Twitter and foreign websites? And then arrest your parents back in China for doing so if you're publishing anything.
I interviewed a guy who got into a lot of trouble for making a joke on Twitter.
Yes.
In fact, I interviewed a guy in China, it's on my channel, a guy in China who got arrested for making a joke about Xi Jinping on Twitter. And what they charged him with was using a VPN to go onto Twitter to do this.
Correct.
All right. And he got into a massive amount of trouble. I've been back and forth with him, and he's just managed to claim asylum in the UK. He's finally out.
Good.
Another guy who was living here that I interviewed as well, a student, remember, he made something critical of China on Twitter as well. And his parents got the police come to visit him, and they called him and begged him to stop, and the parents were threatening to do something bad to his parents if he didn't stop.
Yep.
So you got to understand, it's very, very bad. It's far worse than most people realize.
Fortifying the Great Firewall, the criminalization of VPNs. Student flees China after questioning over sharing a VPN login. This guy, Chen Yuzhen, he narrowly escaped by being held in a police detention center, is now studying in South Korea, escaped to South Korea because he let his friend use his VPN login.
Yeah.
This is widespread. It is even more scrutinized now. And if you want to use a VPN in China now, not as an individual, you can't as an individual. If you get caught, especially if you get caught publishing anything against the CCP, you're done. You're absolutely smoked.
Yeah.
Right? But now, as a foreign company or an entity, to get legal access, you have to sign up with the MIIT board in China, and then they have regular access to all of your internet logs, just to make sure that you're only using it to do commerce in China.
Yeah.
It's outlandish. China's internet censorship is insane. And while this might sound like a little bit of whataboutism, I want to make sure that you guys understand the dual purpose of this propaganda as we dive into it.
Sure.
Okay? Perhaps the worst part of China's internet law here is it only takes a brief look at Xinjiang, the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. The Uyghur minority of Xinjiang, the Muslim minority in Western China, if they use a VPN, okay, just in case anyone says people in China are allowed to use VPNs, if they use a VPN, just like this girl here, she got 15 years in prison
15 years.
for using a VPN.
Yeah.
That was her crime. If you go to the Xinjiang police files, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that were thrown in prison for being terrorists just for using a VPN.
Yeah, so I mean, not only is this law awful, but it's also racist. Because, if
racist.
you're a Uyghur and you use a VPN, then suddenly it's far more serious and you get very heavy prison terms and worse.
It is a second-degree terrorism. So if you're a Han Chinese person, you'll probably get a fine. You'll probably be under future police scrutiny, by the way.
Yeah.
And you'll be watched. You might go to jail, right?
Yeah.
If you're a Uyghur minority, you are guilty of second-degree terrorism.
Yes.
So it is literally a racial
racist
law.
It's a racist-ass
Yes,
law. China's a racist-ass country.
It is.
It is, sorry.
Just want to be clear on this.
Just have to say it.
So China, it is illegal to use a VPN. And now we will talk about this misinformation that we suspect is coming from China.
Yeah,
so let's continue.
absolutely. All right, let's do that.
Just wanted to clear it up.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. These are the kind of things that have been going on and that have been shared by all the... By the way, these videos, the reason why I even saw them is the CCP shills, the propagandists that work for China, Chinese state media and so on, have been posting these and retweeting them, saying like, see, this is... If you try to ban TikTok, this is what's going to happen.
We're not saying she is.
No.
They're using this content.
They are retweeting these people's videos.
Yeah.
TikTok gets banned and you're thinking of using a VPN, think again, unless you want prison time. That's right, the bill that would ban TikTok would also stipulate that if you access banned content knowingly using a VPN, you would be subject to $1 million fine or 20 years. Yes, 20 years in prison. What kind of world are we living in?
Yeah, what kind of world are we living in? Shut the hell up. Okay, read the bill. What is wrong with you?
Can I say something?
The bill. It does not say in the bill that you are going to get $1 million fine and 20 years in prison for accessing TikTok with a VPN.
It does say 20 years in prison, and it does say $1 million fine. We'll tell you what it's for.
Yes, not you.
By the way, Can I address something really quick?
Sure.
That's really pissing me off.
Yeah, sure.
There's this thing going around that you just said, but you said it correctly because you actually read it. There's this thing going around where people are saying, "Did you read the bill?"
Yeah,
read the bill, because it hinges on the idea that most people won't read the bill.
Yes.
So then they'll go, "Well, if they told me to read the bill, I feel kind of ashamed that I didn't, and I'll just take their word for it."
Exactly.
And it's literally going. I've seen CCP shills doing this. Did you even read the bill? Clearly they didn't, because that's not what it says.
And don't take advice from a woman who has a headboard like that, by the way.
Why not? What's wrong with that headboard?
It's disgusting. Let's move on.
Okay.
20 years in
I'm talking about the bed headboard.
Yeah, not the... Yeah.
What else would I be talking about?
There's no board on it.
What kind of world are we living in?
Anyway, I don't know how that's relevant at all, but thank you for bringing a little humor into this very serious topic. Sure. So let's have a look. Okay. It says, under the terms of the bill... So, by the way, there's this whole thing, this linchpin, about this bill that would supposedly ban TikTok, right?
Yeah.
the kind of widespread criticism is that this will give the U.S. government too much power over the internet, and they will be able to access all your stuff. And then if you do anything to try to access any foreign websites, then you're going to jail, right? That's the linchpin, the general linchpin.
That's what all these people are, these TikTok bots are saying.
Yeah, I do want to clarify. There is real criticism, which we'll get into, of the bill.
Yeah.
But that's separate to this kind of viral rumor that's going on. So I wanted to address this. It says, under the terms of the bill, someone must be engaged in sabotage or subversion of communications technology in the U.S., causing catastrophic effects on U.S. critical infrastructure, or interfering in or altering the results of a federal election in order for criminal penalties to apply. So instead of these rumors that go around actually addressing the spokesperson for the bill, right? The spokesperson, the communications director for this bill, instead of quoting this person or looking into actually what it might mean before it gets amended or clarified or anything, it is meant to be stopped in public opinion by saying you are going to jail for 20 years and the government's going to read all of your information and data. And then you're not supposed to look past that part.
So you have to be engaged in sabotage or subversion of communication technology in the US. Okay, so some people are probably saying, oh, using a VPN, you're subverting, and this is where
there
they're probably
has
saying
to
this.
be damages.
But causing catastrophic effects. So you accessing TikTok as an individual through a VPN, if it say it gets banned, maybe you're subverting something. Okay, subvert. Let's say I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe you are, engaging in subversion of communications technology, but you're not causing catastrophic effects by watching some dancing, woman to a song.
No.
You're not causing catastrophic effects on U.S. critical infrastructure or interfering in or altering the result of a federal election. That's the part that you have to focus on.
Right. Yeah, for sure. If you are using a VPN to watch a Brony convention best of clips.
Yes.
Or you're watching, I'm just picking random stuff here.
That you normally watch, yeah.
That's me. You're the furry guy, right? Yeah. Anyway, if you're doing this kind of stuff, right, you're not subverting federal elections. Yes. You're not subverting national security, right? It has to lead to damages, right? And that's the important thing. You don't have to support this bill, but I think it's very important that when there has been clarification, that you have to look at that clarification instead of saying, nope, this is what I'm hearing right now. No, this could be extended to anything, right? Now, there's some big misinfo coming out of this. Let's continue.
Yeah, I just want to say, this whole idea of using a VPN is going to put you as an individual in jail is bullshit if you read this.
If you read the clarification of what this means, it doesn't say everyone that says, read the bill. Yeah. It doesn't say, if you use a VPN to go on TikTok, you're going to jail for 20 years. It doesn't say that in the bill.
It's nowhere in the bill because it doesn't exist.
Right. Continue.
Yeah.
So let's get into some more details about this because for some reason it's going crazy. Okay. It says, this bill is squarely aimed at companies like Kaspersky, Huawei, and TikTok that create systemic risks in the United States' national security, not individual users. The idea for this bill, and the reason that we covered it in the last episode, at least the idea on paper that we can get behind, and again, I say, not behind the bill necessarily, but get behind the idea that started the bill, is that there are companies from China that are coming to the US and accessing hundreds of millions of users of data, right? And they're doing it with no scrutiny.
Yes.
And everything that's been done to try to mitigate that or change ownership, do whatever, has not worked thus far. Therefore, something has to be done. It's not to restrict the fact that an American can go look at something in Iran or China or whatever. It's the fact that there is an app that has become the majority app for 100 million plus people. That's where they get their news from. That's where they get their information from. That's where they get their election information from. That's where they actually go, type things in a search bar. That's where they go and upload videos of themselves with location data. All of that stuff is going to China, the Chinese government. Yeah. And they're using it maliciously to alter an algorithm to put you on a certain path in life. And that's information warfare.
And here's the thing. Even if they're not doing it, the fact that they have the ability to do that, and they could literally, if they wanted to tomorrow, change the algorithm to feed you, hey, don't vote for this guy because he sucks, and feed you everything that shows don't vote for these people, vote for these people, or don't do this, do that, or stop supporting your government because they suck, and, China's government is great. The fact that they can do this, and they definitely can do this, is the worry.
Right. Now, it was very interesting. What I wanted to do is really hone, because again, I like the background of the bill.
Yeah.
I support many amendments and adjustments just like bills. That's how bills work.
Yeah, of course. You take a bill, and when people are like, screw this, we don't like this part of it, cut it out.
Or add things.
Yes.
Or clarify.
Isn't that what amendments are?
Yeah,
I know
all
you
of
guys
these things.
in America always going on about the Second Amendment, right?
Sure, yeah.
It's an amendment.
I'm not always going on about
I'm
the
not,
Second
not you,
Amendment.
but like Americans love to talk about the
Sure.
Second Amendment.
Of course.
It's an amendment, right?
Or the First Amendment.
Yeah,
Right.
which is that?
Freedom of speech.
Oh, that's freedom
Yeah.
of speech, right?
Yeah.
So before you had an amendment, you had no freedom of speech.
Correct.
In America, it was like, you may not.
Right.
And you may not
Exactly.
have a right to bear arms.
Correct.
And people are like, screw this, let's add that in.
Right. But
we're going to amend
those
it.
are amendments, yeah.
And that's what we
in
need
Bill
to
of
do.
Rights and stuff. However, we're talking about an actual bill that will be potentially be put into law. And the idea, again, is to restrict adversarial countries in their malicious use of Americans' data for
Correct,
national security,
correct.
right? Also, to restrict the access of an adversarial government on information technology. Because, again,
Routers, Wi-Fi.
I think one of
that
the
kind
best
thing.
things about the idea of this bill, again,
Yeah.
I'm not putting my name behind the bill yet. Not until it has some crucial amendments, right?
Yeah, we need to have a Second Amendment.
Stop.
It's
Let's-
true, though. The
it's getting
Restrict Act,
serious for
Second
a
Amendment,
second.
First Amendment, yeah.
Getting serious for a second.
Yeah.
I think one of the most crucial aspects of this bill and why it's important
Yeah.
is that it's not just about TikTok, right?
Sure.
I think, when people are like, screw this bill, let's just have a ban. I can get behind that in certain aspects, right? And you address that actual core problem right away. But the core problem is not just TikTok.
No.
If it takes this long in a democratic country to vote things in, amend, and go through appeals courts, things like this, right? Then the problems can come from a foreign government that has authoritarian power immediately, overnight, every single day.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, TikTok could just literally, they could talk to Kim Jong-un or whatever and say, let's release Jumburu Internet, which
Yes.
is, the TikTok, but under another name, but
Correct.
coming from North Korea this time.
over and over.
There are other apps that we have to worry about too, things like Temu,
Things
which,
like Russian
by-
state media apps.
Yeah, by the way, Temu, Pinduoduo,
Right.
the Chinese version of Temu was recently kicked out of the Google App Store because it had malware in it.
我不想要一只拼多多
Exactly.
Some deep
I
cut
mean,
joke there.
yeah, there's a lot of apps out there and a lot of information technology warfare and cyber warfare that China employs, and this is the kind of bill that could tackle those things.
Correct. Now, in this bill, I would like to see directly to point out TikTok. I
Yeah.
would like it to address very specific things.
Yeah.
I would like this bill to be very specific in what stipulates something that breaks all of these laws.
Yeah.
I would like the bill to stipulate the fact that users are not targeted.
Yes.
I would like this bill to stipulate all of the things that are directly in how they would work against the U.S. national security. And I think those things would be added, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing about a bill is it's an idea, right? It's an idea to put it out there, and we'll see
Yeah.
if we like it, right? And then we can vote on it, right?
Correct.
So I wanted to dive deep into the dissenting opinions.
Sure.
You got to zoom out from the rumors. Those can only do so much damage, right?
Yeah.
You can have every man and his friend going around say, vote against this bill because you're going to go to jail if you use a VPN. The U.S. government's going to
Dude,
become like the CCP.
People have been sharing out like, what's that? Oh, man, what's that like annoying guy who fixes MacBooks or whatever? They keep sharing that all the time because he made a thing about it. They keep sharing out all these different TikTokers, and at the end of the day, they're all saying the same thing. You're going to get 20 years in jail and a fine of up to $1 million, without actually showing any real understanding or
Yes.
proof. It's just a rumor,
Right.
So,
Interestingly enough, I wanted to go into the most popular dissenting opinions. One
Okay.
of them on the progressive side would be from AOC, right? Well, one of the progressive sides, right?
sure.
And I thought it was a little bit interesting because she went into why there needs to be more specifics about why TikTok is to be banned. I don't think that's the argument on the table. That has been made very and abundantly clear as to why TikTok should be banned.
Sure.
I think she very much glossed over any criticism, real criticism of why the bill exists, right? I think you can have a healthy skepticism of the bill, but I'm pretty sure we know why TikTok should be banned.
Sure.
It's been proven empirically over and over again. Very clearly what the ambitions of the Chinese government are, very clear on their overreach and overstep of what they own in TikTok and what their ultimate goals for America is, right?
Yeah.
I think we know this, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was very weird that she didn't really head on the bill, like the healthy skepticism of the bill. She headed on like, why are we banning TikTok? We need to make it abundantly clear. We know.
Yeah.
We know why TikTok's supposed to be banned, right?
Sure.
So that was kind of a weird take, I thought. But there's some other weird takes too.
Okay, let's see your
that
weird
actually
takes.
might not be so weird.
Okay.
But let's look at this. It says the ban's criminal penalties.
Yes.
Right? This is the thing that everyone keeps talking about. Getting $1 million fine and 20 years in jail, and you're going to be just like the CCP, right?
Yes.
Which include up to a fine of up to $1 million or imprisonment up to 20 years, has caused some alarm among the bill's observers, who have questioned whether some TikTok fanatics might face jail time for using a VPN to get around the ban and access the app. But a spokesperson for Senator Mark Warner's bill, the bill's sponsor, told Newsweek that it would not apply to individual users.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's false.
I mean, you can say, bills can be used for overreach and more stipulations can come into play and a law can get out of control. And I understand that.
That's why you need a Second Amendment.
Yes. Or a third or a 10th or
Yeah.
a revision. I should probably say a revision.
I think you can have amendments to bills.
You can. And you can also have revisions, but you can also have explanations. And I think that's the most important thing. I think the nature of the bill is correct. I think that it's overreach. The potential for overreach exists. But I also think that there's plenty of time and room for clarification.
Yeah,
right?
and amendments.
And amendments. Continue.
Okay.
Let's look at another side of things.
Yep.
Because obviously AOC would be on the left side of things, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of Democrats are very upset with her take on that, by the way. Just wanted to be fair on this, right?
Sure.
I just want to look at this real quick. We have the bill. Read the bill! Did you read the bill?
What is it called? It says PIACT, PACT. Priority Information and Communications Technology areas.
Because
PIACTA.
there's another piece of information here that is massive and damaging, super bad disinfo.
Yes.
And this is the other side of things. We keep talking about the VPN 20-year thing. I think we've harped on enough about that.
Yeah.
You know what other people are saying?
Oh, that they can access all your files and data and stuff in your house or whatever?
What they're doing is they're taking the screenshot that I took myself just to show how damaging this could be.
Right.
What if I said this, right? What if I said, you don't clip this out of context, by the way.
Sure.
What if I said this? With this bill, right? And imagine the top doesn't exist there.
Okay, so the top
With
doesn't
this
exist.
bill,
Yeah.
the U.S. government will have access to your wireless local area network, your mobile network, your satellite payloads, your satellite operation control, your cable access points, and I rattled these off, right? Wouldn't you feel scared? You'd say, wait a minute, why does...
Yeah, I'd be like, screw that. Then why do they have access to my personal networks?
They're going to get my router and my house
my
and
house.
see exactly what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
This is being clipped out, and China pro-China shills, pro-CCP shills, I should say, are going around saying that these are the things that are being signed into the bill that the U.S. will have access to. The U.S. government have access to your information. These are the things that will be stipulated and scrutinized if these technologies from a foreign country try to get sold in the American market.
Like a Huawei router.
Correct.
Right.
For over 1 million users. It has nothing to do with the U.S. government's access to your information on these devices.
Yeah, exactly.
It's if you know what I would feel nervous about.
What's
is
that?
if I was a Chinese businessman
Yeah.
that just came up with a malicious router that reroutes all of internet traffic and I'm based in the US, but I'm sourcing my router from China and selling it here, and I have a huge customer base, over 1 million people.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this bill got signed in. That's when I would feel nervous.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's not a person's the end user's problem.
Yeah, that's right.
See how this is being taken completely out of context?
Yeah, so should we just read that
You
heading
don't
at the
have
top
to. I
there?
mean, people, you can read the bill. It's in the...
Read the bill.
It's
There it
in
is.
the
Read
description.
the bill. Yeah.
Let's continue.
Okay, let's continue on.
So, do you remember this? This is going to be a wild deep cut to kind of rope people back into the fray.
Sure.
Do you remember this protest?
Yeah, it was something called Rage Against the War Machine, which was set up by a lot of CCP-connected people, actually. They were involved.
Yeah, they were involved, yeah.
And also pro-Russian,
Yep.
people.
So basically what this was a protest that was headed by the Libertarian Party of America and the People's Party of America. So the libertarians and the communist type.
Yeah, but
party,
the
right?
interesting thing is that a lot of organizations and people connected to the CCP that do CCP propaganda were connected to this event as
And
well.
Russia.
Yeah, and
like
Russia.
you said. So I just
Same
wanted to look
thing,
at-
really, to be honest. They're an ally with Axis.
So it's kind of weird, I thought, that the Libertarian Party, which is for no government control or less government control,
Yeah.
and the People's Party, I could kind of see. But anyway, these two forces aligned in the U.S. to put on this Rage Against the War Machine, against the war in Ukraine, right? And it was sponsored. By the way, it was promoted by
I
Li
like how
Jingjing.
it was, but it's like against the war in Ukraine as long as you let Russia win.
Yes. Oh,
Like,
it's very pro-war in
It's like-
Ukraine. If you allow.
it's against the resistance against Russia in
Yes.
Ukraine.
So
Yeah.
it was promoted by the Chinese government, by the way. That
Yeah.
previous slide that you're on, that was Li Jingjing of CGTN.
Yeah.
Literally the Chinese government
Chinese
that was
state.
promoting a Libertarian People's Party protest in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
These are some stills from the protest. We have
Yeah,
some,
we have Russian Z people in there.
we have the Soviet Union flag with Z carrying it.
Yeah.
You had some voices. You have Ukraine out of Donbass. You have a man with a hammer and sickle face mask.
Hang on a second. What is he LARPing as over there? Like a communist jelly bean? I'm serious. Like, what is that? Like,
Jelly bean.
you know what? I give my kid those
A
like
jelly bean.
those little gummies or whatever, like a gummy bear or whatever. He looks like that.
Yes,
He
yes.
looks like a piece of shit. Is what he looks like.
So
Ketchup man. over
Yeah,
there.
ketchup.
Ketchup flavored jelly bean.
So you had a bunch of speakers there.
Sure,
right?
sure.
And some very high profile people, but a lot of literally Kremlin bots.
Yeah,
like
sure,
Kremlin spokespeople and China spokespeople, right?
Yeah.
So you have I'm not even joking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the next picture will zoom in a little harder so you can see some fascinating stuff. Ron Paul, by the way, I just want to throw this out there, was a speaker at this protest, okay?
Okay.
Now, I'm a former supporter of Ron Paul.
I've heard his name, but I know nothing
Okay.
about him. I'm not big into the politics.
Very
here yet.
libertarian guy, right?
Okay.
Small government, all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
Speaking at this event, which on the surface will look like, okay, it's just an anti-war thing behind that, right?
Yeah.
But was literally, the other speakers are literally Putin spokespeople and Xi Jinping spokespeople
Yeah.
and far fringe, like, radical groups.
Yes.
Right? And you look at this, and he is speaking, and you're like, what's going on? I mean, behind the speakers, there's a sign that says, to stop World War III, the USA must join the new paradigm, and that is Putin and Xi.
Yeah.
You saw this around the
Ramaphosa as well. up
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
You saw this around the protests where people holding up pictures of Xi Jinping and Putin,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In this anti-war protest, which is just wild to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I know.
Right? But it got scarier when you actually looked who was speaking there as like highlighted
A lot of
guests.
NGOs were connected to it too.
Yeah, if you go on, I just
Yeah.
want to point out some people that were there. The Libertarian Party, by the way, the reason I said I was a former supporter of the Libertarian Party and Ron Paul is because of the unbelievable takes that are going on right now.
Yeah.
Pro-Russia, like, talking points, and then also Taiwan is part of China, right? These kind of messages are getting spread around. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm starting to get like, what's going on here? This is like maddening. It's the opposite of what libertarian ideals
You must
are.
feel dirty.
It's
It's kind of like that guy who had a thing with Li Jingjing, you know. He must feel dirty about that too. You know what I mean?
how
Because
you managed to
because back then he didn't realize just how bad she was.
Yeah. We don't even
You know
know
who
what,
you are.
You also don't even know what thing you're talking about.
Yeah. Well,
Just a working relationship. Anyway,
sure. Yeah.
let's continue. I promise this is come back to the bill.
Right.
So just some guest speakers there. We had somebody named Jackson Hinkle who says God will liberate Ukraine from the Satanists, who poses with guns saying "Pushin' Z."
MAGA communism.
He is a Californian American who also created MAGA communism, and he's not trolling. Like he was one of the top speakers at that
this
protest.
is some clown world shit.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
right? It's just like idiocracy.
Yeah.
Anyway, just wanted you to get a taste from that protest because we've
Sure.
covered this before. But Ron Paul's son, Rand Paul, ran for president, right? Rand for president. Okay. Yeah, for the Republican
I'm just thinking
Party.
of like South African currency and how worthless it is.
Oh, the Rand.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
Now, I know this seems kind of like I got to circle back.
Okay,
right?
yeah. Where are you
Ron
losing us in
Paul's-
this American politics shit?
You have to understand.
Okay, all right.
Ron Paul's son, Rand Paul, ran for
Right,
president,
right.
right? Stop. Don't pause there.
Don't pause here.
No. I mean, yes, pause there.
You said don't pause
I
there.
meant don't unpause there.
Okay, all right.
He was one of the biggest proponents on the other side, on the
So-
Republican side,
Okay.
of not allowing this bill to go through.
Okay, so he's very much against this bill.
Correct. So we looked at AOC.
The bill that you won't go to jail for 20 years
Correct.
for using a VPN.
The majority of Democrats disagreed with AOC.
Okay.
But she's a genesis of a lot of the more farther left-wing opinion about why this bill is bad.
Sure.
Now, on the right side, you have the majority of Republicans that are for this bill as well, right? They're both parties unified.
Sure, sure.
But the biggest dissenting opinion on this side would be Rand Paul, so I want to pick him.
So he's like, screw this bill.
Yes. So I want to look into why, and some healthy scrutiny of the bill is correct, right? But then you actually look into it a little bit, and it gets mad sus.
Okay, like what?
So one of his biggest donors, this guy named Jeff. Yes, yes,
Okay.
Jeff. Yes, Queen.
Okay.
He's the richest guy in our state of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
He donated $2.3 million to Rand Paul's presidential candidacy, right? So he was one of the biggest donors, right?
So he donates a lot to this guy who's against the bill.
Yeah, he's a billionaire, right?
Yeah.
He donates a lot of money to this guy, and this guy is also very much against the bill. I'm going to assume. Do you know why? Let's go to the next page.
Okay, why would he be against
So
the
Rand
bill?
Paul is one of his biggest donors here.
Well, he's the biggest donor to Rand Paul.
Yes, one of the biggest donors to Rand Paul is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Is also, he owns 7% of ByteDance, TikTok's parent company. Not
Okay.
just TikTok, the Chinese company.
Yeah.
He owns, an American guy, a Pennsylvanian,
Yeah.
owns 7% of ByteDance.
Well, then that's why you wouldn't want it banned in America. Makes total
30
sense.
Half of his $33 billion fortune, this guy, right? This yes guy, is TikTok, is ByteDance.
Okay.
Right? So then I start to see maybe there's other, and again, I think Rand Paul probably came out there and he said something like, oh, that has nothing to do with it or something like this, right? But I think you can start to see these dissenting opinions always have a genesis.
Like, hey, remember that 2.3 million or whatever I gave you for your election campaign?
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? This TikTok thing's really good.
Right.
You know, I think we should, maybe just make sure that it doesn't get banned. What do you
Right.
say? What do you say? You want another 2.3 million in the future?
I
you know?
It's
Are you
hypothetical.
sure?
Right?
Yeah. Do you hypothetically want my donations in the future? Do you?
Right. So I mean, like,
Do you hypothetically want to go downstairs because there's a Ferrari waiting for you with the keys in the ignition?
all right, we get it. All right. Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, I just wanted to point out there, whenever there's a genesis of like either big opinions that are saying, no, this is bad, right?
Sure.
You got to look into it a little bit. And I'm not
sure.
saying that's 100% Rand Paul's motivation. Maybe he is just like, no government control over anything,
Sure.
right? Maybe that's the case. But you got to look into
a little
some
sus.
things
It's a little
sometimes,
sus.
right? So we
Yeah.
covered it from the China side. What their dual purpose approach for this propaganda is for you to be against this bill.
Yes.
And keep in mind why. They want TikTok to proliferate in the US.
It's wildly successful for the Chinese government on many different forms,
Yes.
but it's giving them a huge amount of sway over public opinion in the USA.
Yes.
And it's giving them access. Right now, they have access to any TikTok user they want.
Right.
Right now.
Yes.
If the Chinese government, if Xi Jinping said, right now, I want you, John Smith, I want John Smith's location, I want John Smith's habits, I want to know what he likes.
I want to know how to be able to manipulate him.
I want access to the microphone on his phone so I can listen to it. I want access to camera. I want to know his movements over the last 5 years. Anything. Right now, they can go, the ByteDance, the CCP goes to ByteDance and says, give us this information. ByteDance connects to TikTok. They still have access. Remember, even though there's been this whole thing about, oh, we're going to, set up Project Texas and stuff. Oh, we're going to firewall off the data. They haven't yet. And even if they do, they'd still be able to do it. But they go and they say, okay, let's go get that guy's information. It goes back to Xi Jinping and they have all the information right now. Why would China ever want to give that up?
The Chinese government is winning a massive information warfare campaign.
Yeah.
While they have blocked every single website and app from the US in their own country. Do you see the hypocrisy there?
It's kind of like you've got a larder. What do you call? What would you call that? Like a
storage
pantry,
fridge.
a pantry or
Sure.
something.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, but you keep yours with a lock on it. Okay,
Yeah.
but your neighbor's like, hey, come on in and like help yourself if you're ever feeling hungry.
Sure.
And you
By
just
the way,
go
can
in.
we get this off the back?
Sure, and you just go in there and you grab all their food all the time, and you keep throwing it in your larder and locking it up. And the neighbor's like, "Hey, man, you keep taking all this stuff. Can I have a little something back?" And you're like, "No, mine's off limits. It's locked." It's the same kind of thing. That's what China's doing.
And by the way, all the food that you're potentially giving to somebody else is poison.
Yeah, if they give
they
you
were
food,
given-
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
No, it's a bad situation, and it's completely unfair.
I just want to wrap this up by saying this is bipartisan. You don't need to blindly support a bill.
No, of course not.
Things do
And you
need
should
to be scrutinized.
That's something that's good about America is people
Yeah.
do stand up for their rights. You can't do that in China.
No.
If the Chinese government says from now on you must do this,
Yeah.
people have to do it. You can't like write your congressman and say, I don't like that.
I'm very, very concerned, though, that with healthy scrutiny, that's the correct thing to do. That's being pushed aside, and the majority opinion is following rumors that they're seeing on TikTok.
Yes.
That where their genesis...
Does this not prove? Does this not prove that this is a bad app?
TikTok is currently running the biggest campaign they've ever run to change your mind about the bill.
Yes.
Is this not the case study?
Oh, yeah, 100%. We keep seeing it. We had a whole bunch of videos lined up, but we didn't want to bore you with them because, to be quite honest, they're just sickening. And the people that are putting these things out there, if you look at them, you just don't even see them. They're just like, the lies that they're spouting about this bill. And the way they couching all this stuff is in a way that they're being informative, and you guys don't realize this, but this bill, if it goes through, you're going to jail for 20 years if you just even think about using a VPN. And the matter-of-fact way that they're saying it and trying to convince you is so dishonest and so disingenuous, it makes me sick.
It's so gross, and that's why we did this. We want our audience to have public, like a very decent scrutiny of any law that goes in or potential overreach of the government.
Yeah.
But when the majority of opinions stop at the information, the information stops at them watching a TikTok video about how they're going to jail, then that's disinformation. That's not only disinformation, that's information warfare.
Yes.
That's getting you to change your political opinion about something from a foreign government that wants the worst for your country.
And that's what the American government is worried about.
Yes.
Is TikTok having sway over local legislation,
Correct.
over local bills, over local voting, local rules. And this is, once again, as you said, it's a case study.
Yes.
It just shows how they can do that.
Correct.
And what they are doing.
Now, I want the conversation to continue. More speech, not less. We're not here to kibosh any debate about the bill. The bill is important to talk about. It's important
it needs
to criticize.
its own Second Amendment.
Yes.
Whichever that's going to be.
Jokes aside, this needs to continue in dialogue, right?
Yeah.
But do not let an influence campaign warp your mind to the point where that's where it stops. Where you say, did you read the bill? And you're going around trying to convince people of something, and you're like, wait a minute. Where did I actually go? Step back. Which video puts you in that direction? Look up that user. Look where their opinions are coming from. Look what maybe did this come out of the blue? Is it a bit weird for them to be talking about this? Maybe it's a politician. Look into their motivations. Everything has some sort of motivation, right? Independent thought, like we pride ourselves on. That's why
Lots
we don't
of independent thoughts on TikTok. I'll tell you that much.
We don't affiliate ourselves with any government at all. We don't affiliate with any sort of political ideology even. We are independent thinkers that want to make sure that you are also independently thinking. You don't have to agree with anything that we say, but at least go and do your own research. Don't just stop. Don't stop your opinion at a rumor.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what we want you to walk away with. How foreigners become Chinese CCP shills
or just famous.
Or famous by starting by eating Chinese spicy food. Spicy chicken feet to genocide denial, right?
Super spicy.
That's such a bullshit fake reaction. I cringe out when I see this.
Yeah, me
shit.
too.
It's so fake. Oh my god.
Isn't it?
I want to die.
Isn't it cringe? Right underneath Tibet in a nutshell, it's like flag raising ceremony in Tiananmen Square, Beijing. Xinjiang dancing happy Uyghurs.
Oh jeez, she's making me sick.
Anyway, let's take a look at what
I can't watch his shit.
Well,
it actually makes me uncomfortable.
Just come on,
Rip
dude.
off.
Seriously?
Full of shit. They started with chili, spicy food, you end up a shill.
When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs.